All right. Good evening, class of 2026, parents and families. We're super excited that you have all decided to join us tonight. I know that there's some other things going on throughout the district. Before we kind of get started and I start talking and we start switching around a little bit, first thing if you could do is just sign in really quick. If you haven't already scanned the QR code, go ahead and do so now and just fill it out for us and for our OU rep. That would be super helpful for us, and we can kind of get started. Switching around, I'll give you just a few seconds to scan that. As an FYI, for all of you that are in the audience, as you're filling things out and kind of getting prepared to take in all this information that you are going to get, everything that you will see here tonight from us, from the Athens administration, will be emailed to the entire class of 2026 following the presentation. This is also being recorded and will be posted on the TSD Theater's website. So if you wanted to go back and review anything that was presented, it will be there for viewing later on. So don't feel like you have to take a million notes or take a bunch of pictures, because we are going to send all of this information for you directly. So that being said, if you have people in other parts of the district or people that you know couldn't be here tonight, if you wanted to relay that message to them right now, that would be another great opportunity for them to get that information we're going to share here tonight. All right, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Megan Henry. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Athens High School. I oversee kind of letters A through K, but I'm also in charge of all of our senior events. So we know that there's a lot of exciting opportunities for our students to be celebrated this year, throughout the year, not just now, but we also know that it's a lot of transition, and there's a lot of time spent getting our students ready for the next step in their journey beyond the walls of Athens High School. I am joined here tonight by one of our counselors, Mrs. Shane. She's in the back corner waving, and then Mr. Burden is also here somewhere. He's in the back corner over there as well, and we will be around should you have any questions or want to connect on anything after. So first thing, this is the program. I know it's really small. That's why we're going to email it to you directly. These are some big save the dates. Our graduation date is not 100% finalized yet, but these are some important dates. Like I said, you don't have to worry about taking a picture. The big ones that I want to bring to your attention right now is tonight. This is our Senior Financial Aid Information Night. We're going to go over some other things regarding cap and gowns, senior events. We're going to hear from some senior parent leaders tonight, and then how to purchase your cap and gown so we're ready for graduation. On that note, I'm going to pass it over to our Jostens rep, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, my name's Tim Hollinsworth. I'm from Jostens, and what I'm going to do is try and show you, walk through how we order some of the senior graduation items this year. We handle the caps and gowns, the diplomas, and the class rings, and the graduation announcements for the school. And you don't need to do anything for the diploma. That'll be done automatically for you. The caps and gowns and the graduation announcements, I hope you might have received in the mail in the last day or two, a little envelope has the announcement in it. Did you guys get that yet? Yeah, okay. So that's a sample. We like you to have that announcement so you can see it and you can see how nice it is. And that's what the tradition is. You send that announcement to friends and relatives. You put a party card inside if you're having a graduation party, but I'll get to all that in a second. So the class of 2026, I'm going to pass on that. Okay, graduation, yeah, here at Athens is a big deal. It's a really nice ceremony. Everybody's looking sharp in their cap and gowns, and their custom cap and gowns, I should say. It might be kind of hard to see, but it's the red gown, the red cap, and the gown has the 2 gold stripes on the sleeves, which really makes it nice and gets the school colors in there. Then what we're asking for, senior order week is September 8th to the 14th. But the site is open now, so you can go home tonight and place your order if you like. If you're not able to order by September 14th, we will extend it. It's not that big of a deal. We're just trying to get everybody and get all the seniors to order their things, so some of the clothing things will come in at the same time and they'll be able to wear it together. So what you're going to need to do when you go to the website, you'll see some packages. The Red Hawk package is the first one, and you'll see a mini package and some other packages, then some cap and gown packages. And so all you need to do, if you like one of the packages, that's fine. If there's something in a package that you don't really need, then all you do is click Shop All, and that'll take you to everything. So it'll show you the packages again, but you keep scrolling down and you can see all the individual items. You can order a cap and gown by itself. You can order, say, 10 announcements. You can order an extra tassel. Anything that you want, you just pick and choose, and you could order a t-shirt. And so things like the cap and gown comes in the spring, the graduation announcements come in the spring. Any of the clothing that they order, they get that right away. So it takes us about 2 to 3 weeks, and we mail that to your home, okay? And then when you come down to the cap and gown part, before you check out, it'll just ask you for the student's name, the height, approximate height, and approximate weight. And that's just important so we know what size, what fitting to give the students. Then this is a sample of the announcement that we mailed home, the Athens crest on the front, class of 2026. And then inside will be the date, time, and place of graduation. And then the things that go along with that are the name cards, go in the slots on the inside cover. Then the envelope seals, the return address labels, things like that. So also you'll see all the custom items. So the custom Red Hawk envelope seals, the custom thank you note, the custom envelope seals. So those are way more popular than the other ones. Then you'll see other items on there, the graduation. I didn't think that was going to be a big deal, but it's a graduation cap. If you have a hard time getting the cap to fit, if someone has a large head of hair or anything, it kind of hooks it on there so it fits a little better. And that was just way more popular than I thought it was going to be last year. And then if you haven't, if your senior hasn't gotten their class ring yet or their graduation ring, you'll see all kinds of styles. These days, students seem to be waiting till they're a senior and then they decide, yeah, I do want a graduation ring. So you'll see all kinds of styles online. The Achiever collection there, the traditional ring, has always been the most popular, but in the last 5 years, that class band there is the #1 ring we sell nationwide. Then for the next 3 weeks, so starting today and then all the way for 3 weeks, I think it'll go till September 20th, you'll see some of the rings at a huge discount. So normally these two rings here are $419 in the white lustrium, that's the silver medal. They are going to be $249. So we haven't seen a price like that in years and years. So it's a good time to purchase a ring. If you're thinking about that, you'll see other rings on sale too. Not all of them, but these are two of the two most popular rings, and these are on sale. So, and then they come with full lifetime warranty, free resizing for a lifetime, free repolishing, anything that you need on the ring, it's always covered for a lifetime. And then this year, Afterpay is new, so we have Afterpay on the website, PayPal, Apple Pay I don't think is quite ready yet, but the Afterpay is 4 equal payments with no interest charges. So it'll break it up into 4 monthly payments. We also have varsity jackets available now. You'll see these on the website, and students can design it right online the same way they would a ring. It's kind of neat how they can just put it all together there. And then again, September 8th to the 14th, but like I said, it's open now, and we can get your orders for you. If you have any questions on how to do this, just email us, call us. We're here to help you. And I think that's about everything. If you know someone that's not here, just pass on the information. We'll leave extra packets in the main office. Okay? Does anybody have any questions now on anything? Okay, if you think of some later, just send us a quick call, a quick email. Okay, thank you.
your USB. All right. Like I said, we have a great partnership. Our Jostens reps are awesome, super responsive. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to them or reach out to us, and we can connect you with them too. So going forward, there's been, so we just talked about Jostens with the cap and gown announcements. There's also, I know there's been a lot of buzz about the senior composite pictures. So we do have a senior composite with all of our seniors' pictures, and that can be done at Prestige Studio in Royal Oak or Oakland Township for free for our composite photo. I'm going to skip past that one. So at this time, I'm going to have some senior parents come up and talk about some other senior events and how to stay connected with the class of 2026. And I'm going to invite them up to stage now.
Hello, I'm Kristen Kenna. I started the Facebook group for the seniors, but in no way am I in charge of the whole senior class events. Just put it out there to organize things if people have questions. People have been responding. There's information about caps and gowns and pictures and all-night party, the whole thing. So. The first thing coming up is the senior hoodie sale. There's the QR code. We've put out other things. That is September 7th is the hard deadline. They do not order extras. They are not doing a second order. The hope is that the seniors will have their hoodies so that they can wear it in the panoramic picture, which is usually done in October. If you are interested in ordering the senior hoodie, feel free to scan the code. Do it by the 7th, and it should be all set. They do run a little small, people seem to be ordering like one size up. So that's what I would do. And if you have any questions, Ms. Shen, who is our senior advisor, Contact for Athens is all directed towards her. So if you have any questions for that. The senior all-night party, Wendy is going to talk about it. Wendy and Kelly Martin and Mary Frederick, we're all kind of like a leadership group. Excuse me. That's the link for the Facebook page, but Wendy's going to talk to you more about the all-night party.
Just quickly, I wanted to talk to you about the all-night party because you are going to be a part of making it great for our students. The all-night party was created to follow the day of graduation, which I don't have confirmation on that yet, but information will be coming, to give our seniors something to do after they graduate. Rather than going out and maybe doing things we wouldn't want them to do, they can all come to the school and they can basically own the school for one last night before they move on. It's a parent-run event, and we need every parent to be involved. Beforehand, we're going to be recruiting parents to be in charge of committees like entertainment, decorations, security, food, fundraising, prizes, volunteers, tickets, treasurer. There's more, I just can't remember them all right now. We're going to need people to be in charge of those events, but you're not going to be left to figure it out on your own. We're all going to be working together, and there's a lot of history that we can fall back on to figure that out. And the day of requires a lot of parent help. But besides being there to help your senior, we have a lot of fun too, because you get to be there with all the parent friends that you've made since your kiddos were in kindergarten all the way through. So it's a fun night for parents too. It's a really great thing to be a part of. So I encourage everybody, and we'll be recruiting hard, so expect that from us. We're having a first all-night party meeting October 6th at 8 p.m., correct? In the TAC. So look for that information on the senior page, and we look forward to your help with Senior All Night Party. I guess we're done.
Thank you so much. Sure.
All right, so that is most of our senior information. Like I said, all of this is going to be sent to you following this presentation, because we're going to hear now from our Oakland University rep, Carrie Gilchrist. She's going to talk about financial aid and FAFSA and all those things, and how we're going to get these kids to pay for college.
Thank you. Oh dear, yep.
There you go.
Thanks. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for being here tonight. I hope that you were able to grab a handout when you came in. They're on kind of the end caps here around the booth. If you did not grab one, please feel free to get up and wander over that way. If you didn't grab one, you don't want to get one now, you can grab one before you go tonight. But I do want to encourage you to check in. That lets my boss know that I didn't skip out of work early today, that I did come and hang out with you all today. And so this QR code will be up again at the end while I answer questions so that you can check in for the presentation today. So I do want to mention that even though I work for Oakland University, the information that I share with you tonight is not Oakland specific. The information that I share with you is able to be used at any school that your student chooses to attend. Tonight we're going to talk about a lot of different topics. I clearly have a whole list of things there, but I promise it will be relatively quick and painless. My whole goal is to get you out of here by 7 o'clock so you can still enjoy some daylight. All of this information is located in your handout. If you turn to pages 7 and 8, you'll be able to see some general information and an outline of today's presentation. On the next pages after that, there will be some additional worksheets and handouts that I reference later on in the presentation that will help you as you go through the financial aid process this year. I will also mention at this point, I am likely to trip up a few times today because I just revamped this presentation and some things are switched around and it looks different, and so that always makes me fumble through things sometimes. So please forgive me if there's a few little hiccups along the way. So generally speaking, there are 4 types of financial aid. There's scholarships, grants, student employment, and loans. Those 4 types of financial aid come from 4 different sources. So the federal and state governments provide financial aid to students, as do the colleges and universities they attend. There's also private scholarship donors. Those come from foundations, corporations, and organizations that like to give scholarships to students. There's also private lenders, so banks and private companies that will lend private loans to students. Those should be your last resource for financial aid. You want to primarily get all your financial aid from scholarships and grants, right? So we're going to go through a little bit today of the different application processes and the timeline for this year. As you're going through the senior year, you're kind of living in both worlds. You're living a little bit in the senior year and a little bit in the freshman year of college. So I know that takes a lot of balance and coordination, but many have done it before you, so I know that you can do it. Now, the biggest application for financial aid is the FAFSA. How many of you have heard of the FAFSA before right this second? Excellent. How many of you are afraid of the FAFSA? Perfect. I still have a job this year. Excellent. I promise by the end of this presentation, by the end of the school year even, you will be less afraid of the FAFSA. It is a very easy application. It is something that is going to be important for every student who is eligible to apply for FAFSA should fill it out. Every student, regardless of how many students you have or have not in college, how many times you've done it before, how much money you make, where you live, all that stuff. None of it matters. Everybody should do the FAFSA who is eligible to do the FAFSA. The reason I encourage every single eligible student to apply through the FAFSA is because it is one single application, but it is used by a number of sources to award financial aid. So it is a simple process. It is used to apply for financial aid from the federal government, from the state of Michigan, and from the colleges and universities where students are going to attend. The FAFSA becomes available October 1st this year. You don't have to fill it out at 12:01 a.m. on the 1st. You can fill it out shortly thereafter, you know, within a couple of weeks of it becoming available if you're super uber busy on the 1st. But the reason we tell students to fill it out so early, it's almost a year before you're going to actually use that financial aid, is because some of that financial aid is offered on a first come, first served basis. Now, I do want to mention and reiterate that it is the free application for federal student aid. It doesn't cost anything to fill it out or submit it. You certainly don't have to hire anyone to complete it for you. It is designed to be simple enough to complete on your own. And I will tell you that they have made some wonderful changes over the course of the past few years that makes it truly easy to complete. I stood with a parent this summer who thought she did the application over while we were doing an orientation session, and I was packing up our table because it was the end of the day and it was 5:30, and I could hear my dog calling me saying, "Come home and let me out." And so I was packing up my table while she filled out the FAFSA. And it took her about 10 minutes to complete that application. So it is a short and simple process. You may have heard some nasty rumors, don't believe them. But I promise you it is not nearly as bad as you may have heard. Now, here's some things that you need to know. The FAFSA is completed in sections based upon your contributor role. A contributor is someone who contributes their information to the application. So that includes the student applicant, it can include the student's spouse, and the student's parents. The contributors are determined partially by a student's dependency status, and there's two different types of students. There's an independent student, and those are students who are 24 years or older, they're married, they have children or dependents of their own. They could be veterans of the armed forces, orphans, wards of the court, in a legal guardianship, have been in foster care. They could be emancipated minors, considered unaccompanied youth, or at risk for homelessness. Those students will be considered automatically through FAFSA as independent students, and the application will only collect their information and their spouse's information if they're married. There's also dependent students. That is the majority of our high school seniors that we're talking about today. And if your student does not qualify for any of those independent criteria I talked about, they're considered dependent students. Dependent students are required to provide parent information on the FAFSA. And so a dependent student contributor is, of course, the student applicant themselves, and then the student's parents who live in the household that is being reported on FAFSA. And FAFSA defines parents as the biological, adoptive, or step parents living in that household. Now that we know who are the contributors to a student's FAFSA, now we need to figure out what it is that they have to do, right? Every single contributor, including the student applicant and including the parents and the spouses, if that's applicable, they each need to create an FSA ID. An FSA ID is a username and password for the studentaid.gov website. That's all it is. They are going to ask you to confirm your email and your phone number with those codes that they'll text you and all that good stuff, but it's pretty easy to create that access. Contributors are also going to approve the use of their federal tax information on the FAFSA. What that looks like on the application is just a page of terms and conditions. At the bottom, there's an approve button. You're going to click it and move on with the application. That allows the IRS to send in your tax information with the FAFSA data. It's relevant tax information, it's not your entire tax return, but they make it available to the schools that the student lists on their application. If there is a contributor who doesn't approve that their federal tax information is used, that student's FAFSA will be rejected and they won't be eligible for financial aid. So we want everyone to click that approve button at the bottom. Finally, all contributors have to complete their respective section of the FAFSA. So there is a parent section, there is a student section. It doesn't matter which one of you starts that process, just as long as you complete your own section. It is not something that you can do simultaneously. You will break the Department of Education. Please don't do that. You have to do it consecutively, so somebody has to start, and then that next person can do theirs once that first section is submitted. Now, in terms of who's in the household, which household is reported on FAFSA, we all know that there are a number of households that students can call home these days. And so that might mean that you might have to figure out who is going to be the contributing household on the FAFSA. The Department of Ed has this handy infographic up on their website, but these questions are also asked on the FAFSA. And so they're going to ask, do the parents of the student, are they married? And if the answer is no, they're going to say, okay, do they live together? If the answer is still no, they're going to say, which one of those parents provided more financial support to the student in the past 12 months? Once that person is identified, that is going to be the parent contributor on the FAFSA. Their household is going to be the household reported on the application. And if that parent is married or remarried, that step parent is going to be the other parent contributor on the application. Now, when you're filling out the FAFSA, they're going to collect contributor information, including demographic information, income information through that federal tax information question, and asset information in most cases. Not every family has to provide asset information, but if you are required to, it's going to ask you 3 questions. The first is going to be the balance of money in your checking and savings accounts and any cash you keep on hand. The second question is going to be the net worth of your investments. So stocks, bonds, CDs. If you have a dependent student and you're a parent, you will also include the value of your child's college savings plan on that question if they have one, right? If your student is an independent student, if you're their guardian, for example, that college savings plan is going to be their own asset. But if you have a dependent student, the college savings plan is always the parent's asset. The third question is going to be the net worth of any business or investment farm values. And so there are some caveats to these questions, right? And I don't want you to over-report on the FAFSA, especially in this section. So if you have to report asset information, I also want you to understand what assets are not included. Assets do not include the house you live in, the cars you drive, value of life insurance or retirement accounts. It also does not include family-owned businesses with less than 100 full-time employees or full-time equivalent employees. It also, and I don't know that this would necessarily be true in this area, but it does not include farms on which your family resides. Those are not included in the asset section. So I want to make sure that you are a little bit familiar with that ahead of time so that you're not going to over-report on that asset section. Now, there's some things that happen once you submit the application. Once you submit the FAFSA, it takes about 1 to 3 days to process, and the student will receive a FAFSA submission summary email. When they get that email, they're prompted to log in to studentaid.gov and look at their FAFSA submission summary. And it's going to include on there some information about their limited federal financial aid eligibility. It's not going to be the entirety of what they're eligible for, but they're going to tell them if they're eligible for a Pell Grant and that they're eligible for loans, because every student is eligible for loans. Everything else is decided at the school level. And so those pieces of information will come later when the student receives their financial aid offer. Finally, that FAFSA submission summary is also going to include the Student Aid Index. The Student Aid Index is kind of the final calculation of all the information that you put on the FAFSA. That's going to give you some information and help the schools determine some eligibility criteria for just 3 financial aid awards. So for the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, Federal Work Study, and subsidized student loans, we'll use that Student Aid Index number. All the other financial aid they're eligible for uses different criteria. Now, when you're applying through the FAFSA, you're applying, of course, for federal financial aid. And so the federal government offers the Pell Grant, the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or SEOG, and they offer work study. Those are all free financial aid that your student never has to worry about repaying. And they're going to be able to use that toward their educational expenses and not have to worry about how they're going to pay that back in the future. It's all free financial aid. SEOG and Federal Work Study are some of those first come, first serve awards that I talked about earlier. So those are given to schools in a limited amount, and schools are able to award them to their students in the order in which they receive their FAFSAs. So once money has been exhausted from those funds, they simply stop awarding it, and even if they're eligible at one school, their eligibility might be different at another school. Now, Federal Work Study is also money that does not apply to the bill. That is important information going into a school year, that you can not expect that money to come off of the total due. It's money that the student can earn in a paycheck at a campus job. The department that hires them will use those work study funds to help pay their wages, rather than apply that to their bill. The federal government also offers loans to students. The subsidized and unsubsidized loans are offered to students in the student's name only. Parents are not co-signers for those loans. Subsidized loans are interest-free while the student is in school. Unsubsidized loans accrue interest while the student is in school. And that is important information to consider as you're entering into a school year. There's also a Parent Plus loan available through the federal government. If your student has exhausted their financial aid in their own name and they still need additional money, the next best option is going to be a Parent Plus loan. That is a federal loan that you can borrow as a parent in your own name. It's a credit-worthy loan. You have to apply for it separately from the FAFSA. That application typically opens up in April of the senior year. So you'll have a little bit of a gap in time before you need to decide if you have to apply for that loan. If you're approved for the Parent Plus loan and you want to use it, you can absolutely do that. If you are denied for that Parent Plus loan, then your student gets an additional amount of their unsubsidized loan in their own name. Now, in terms of other financial aid that is good for filling out the FAFSA, you're going to apply for State of Michigan aid automatically by filling out the FAFSA. The State of Michigan requires the FAFSA to be completed for most of their financial aid awards. But once you've filled out the FAFSA, the state will also consider the student for additional financial aid automatically, simply because you filled out the application. They may have some other scholarship applications that they require beyond the FAFSA. So when students are creating their FSA ID for the federal account, I always encourage students to also create their state account. They're going to create what's called the My SSG Student Portal. And that's done on the State of Michigan website. It will give them access to those required scholarships if they have any beyond the FAFSA. It will also tell them a limited view of some of their state aid eligibility. It won't be everything because some things, again, are decided at the college or university level. But it will give them some additional information. The state's latest and greatest scholarship is the Michigan Achievement Award. The Michigan Achievement is automatically awarded to students if they're eligible. It does require the student to have a student aid index of $30,000 or less. The award is renewable for up to 5 years, so it's typically a little bit longer than any other scholarships or grants. So we really like that about the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. Students can receive that scholarship for up to $5,500 per year at a State of Michigan public or private four-year institution. And they may be eligible for up to full in-district tuition at a community college instead. In addition to the federal and state aid, there's also institutional aid that uses the FAFSA to determine eligibility. So the application of processes for institutional aid is going to just be processing the FAFSA, right? So when the student fills out their FAFSA, they're going to list the schools they want to send it to. That school is going to process the FAFSA automatically when they receive it for any of their eligible aid. There may be additional institutional aid that is available to students, and that application is going to be unique to every school. So some schools like Oakland, for example, we take the student's admission application, we take their FAFSA, and we automatically award all their scholarships and grants. But not every school is like that. They might have a PDF online or some sort of online application to fill out for an institutional scholarship. Some schools use what's called the CSS profile through College Board to apply for their internal applications. And so every school is going to be a little bit different. Their availability of funds is going to be different. At Oakland, for example, we don't have a limit on how many we can give out. So every single student who qualifies for all the scholarships and grants that we have, they are guaranteed to receive those scholarships and grants. It is not like that at every school. Some schools have a limit to the first 50 or first 100 that they get. They have a quantity limit, or they have a dollar amount limit. And so that's going to be something that is unique to the schools your student is applying to, and they'll need to do some research on usually the financial aid or the admissions website to learn how to apply for that institutional aid. I always encourage students to apply for private scholarships as well. These are going to be scholarships that are offered through organizations, foundations, companies, and sometimes private individuals who like to give scholarships to students. Those applications are available pretty much year-round. From now until the time they graduate from college, they can fill out applications as frequently as they want. Now, those are going to be I noticed that those links are pink. That shouldn't be that way. I'll have to make a note to fix that. There's lots of search engines for those scholarships. They are listed in your booklet there. So College Board, for example, the state of Michigan, FastWeb, they all have scholarship search engines that students can use to find scholarships they can apply for pretty much year-round. Anything that the student is or the family is personally connected with, so employers, social or religious organizations, maybe the student volunteers somewhere and they offer a scholarship, those are going to be fantastic resources because the student has a personal connection with that entity that's donating that scholarship. Finally, there's also scholarships that are local to the high school, intended for seniors at the high school or seniors in the community. And those pools of competition are going to be relatively small. And so that increases the likelihood and the probability that they're actually going to get some of those scholarships. Now, when we're thinking of the timeline of when all this goes on, I mentioned that you're going to be living a little bit in senior year and a little bit in freshman year of college this year. So the timeline for when all of this happens is right now. So starting this past July, students could begin filling out their admission applications, and they're encouraged to fill those out. Kind of the target date for that is the end of October. They can certainly, if schools are not up against a deadline, they can certainly still continue to apply after that if they find a college that they are really passionate about and they want to get into. But really, this is the prime time for applying for those admission applications. The FAFSA is going to start October 1st, and we want students to fill those out as soon as possible. All that information for students who are applying for colleges, they have to be admitted first before the college will receive their FAFSA and process it. So they can do it simultaneously. For example, if they find a school that they really love, in January, they can fill out the admission application, add that school to their FAFSA, all at the same time, and the school will take care of when they're going to process that. Financial aid offers are typically expected to go out sometime in December and January for that first round, and then continuously as students are admitted after that. And then beyond that, students are asked to, in Michigan at least, to make their decision by May 1st of where they're going to attend, register for orientation and attend that next summer, and that all kind of happens all throughout their senior year. So they're living a little bit in those two different worlds. Now, while all that is going on with you and the FAFSA and all the financial aid applications and things like that, schools are making their own preparation for financial aid offers. we're going to be putting together what's called our estimated cost of attendance. And the cost of attendance is an estimate of what the average student will spend at that school during that school year. And schools are going to break that down into billable charges and non-billable expenses. So billable charges are things that the school is going to bill the student for directly. Things like tuition, on-campus housing and meals, sometimes mandatory fees if the school charges such a thing. Not every school does. They're also going to consider non-billable expenses, things that the student doesn't, or that the school doesn't bill them for directly, but the student still has to pay for as a college student. So things like paying for books and supplies, living off campus or at home, transportation, certainly, to get to and from their campus classes if they're going to be a commuter student. Their living expenses, it's kind of a limited living expenses, but they're going to take those things into consideration because this is how we determine how much financial aid the student can receive. So the total cost of attendance is equal to the maximum amount of financial aid that a school can offer a student for that academic year. So once we figure all that information out, we start receiving their FAFSAs, we go through and do all that processing. So when we get all that information, we're going to start providing financial aid awards. And we award that information in a hierarchy. So we award scholarships and grants first. So there's kind of within those 4 types of financial aid that I mentioned, the scholarships, grants, student employment, and loans, there's sort of separated into 3 additional categories. There is need-based aid, non-need-based aid, and merit-based aid. We're going to award merit-based aid first. Those are scholarships that students are offered based on their academic performance, so their GPA and their test scores. And we're going to pour those into a big bucket first. We're next going to offer them their need-based aid. And within that, we're going to first offer federal and institutional grants whose eligibility is based on financial data from the FAFSA. So things like your household income, your AGI, your asset information sometimes. And so we're going to go through and pour those grants into the bucket. Once those are awarded, we're going to take a look at those 3 awards that require that student aid index. So the Michigan Achievement Award, Federal Work Study, and then the subsidized student loan. And we're going to pour those in the bucket. Once that bucket is as full as we can get it, we're then going to award non-need-based aid. And that includes unsubsidized student loans and Parent Plus loans. Those are awarded to students simply because they're college students. So they're not awarded them based on merit or their financial need, strictly because they're college students. Once we get all that information together, we're going to start sending out those financial aid letters. You do not have to wait until December or January this year to get that information, or at least an estimate of that information. There exists on every college and university's website a tool called the Net Price Calculator. And that Net Price Calculator, once you feed in some information about your student and their plans for college, it's going to calculate for you an estimate of that cost of attendance for that particular school. They're also, in most cases, going to provide you an estimated financial aid offer. So you can start looking for all the schools your student has applied to, what their cost of attendance might be, and what their estimated financial aid might be. That is really going to help a student understand where they need to maybe increase their GPA this year, retake a test. They might resubmit their scores, or maybe place a lot more emphasis on applying for private scholarships and things like that. So the Net Price Calculator can be a really helpful tool for you. Now, once you receive the actual financial aid offer, there's going to be some things that you have to do. You're not done yet. I know it seems like you should be. Once you fill out that FAFSA, you're like, oh, I never have to think about it again. You're not done yet. The next thing that you're going to do is receive that financial aid offer. That you can start anticipating in late December, early January. You want to review that information and respond to any requirements that they ask for. About 18% of applicants through the FAFSA are selected for a process called verification, where the school is required to collect information from you and the student and verify that the FAFSA was filed accurately. So usually not too cumbersome, maybe copies of documents or fill out some online forms, but not too terrible of requirements. If you are not selected for verification, the student might still have some requirements that they need to fulfill at a school. They might need to do some decisions about loans, for example, or complete some loan requirements. They might have a scholarship requirement that they need to fill at a particular school. So all that information is something that you can do over the winter break or early in the winter months so that you can get all of that out of the way with the goal of getting a confirmed financial aid offer. So once schools get any requirements from you, they're going to confirm that what they provided you is accurate. At that point, you can go ahead and make your school decision, decide where you're going to go. At the QR code on the screen, there is an event coming up at the end of the month, a virtual event. It's going to be a FAFSA preview presentation. So if you've never done the FAFSA before, or it's been a while, or you're really nervous, I encourage you to register for that event. I will make sure to answer all of your questions that you have, but you're going to be able to see what the FAFSA looks like and each of the screens and the sections and things like that to kind of calm your nerves a little bit. But beyond that, some next steps that you can take, starting tonight even, to jump into this process with both feet. Please make sure that you're creating your FSA ID. That Federal Student Aid access for studentaid.gov is necessary for every student applicant and each parent contributor. So I encourage you to create that sooner rather than later. You also want to make sure that you're attending events. You want to tour the colleges that your student is applying for. You want to make sure that you have visited those campuses, feel what that feels like, go to other academic focused visit days, or just something to make sure that you are helping your student understand what's going to be a good fit for them. There's also going to be some virtual events that you can take. I see another pink link on there. I'll have to fix that again. So there's other virtual financial aid events. If you want to watch this presentation again, there will be a virtual recording on our website all throughout this month. There's also live webinars that I do several times a week where you can go to oakland.edu/financial events to register and watch those. I'll also begin offering FAFSA workshops beginning October 1st. So if you feel like you need help with the FAFSA, or you're a little too nervous and you just want somebody there that you can ask a question to if you have one, you can start registering those. They do begin October 1st. And then finally, the last handout in your booklet is kind of a yellow and white chart. That is our financial aid offer evaluation sheet. So you can plug in the schools that you're looking for. That's going to be on page 7, 8, 9, 10, on 10 in your handout there. But you can also download one from my website there that will download directly to your computer, and it will do the math for you, which is terribly convenient. I do encourage you to visit those college campuses, especially to make sure that your student is understanding what's a good fit for them. If you're interested in Oakland, you can go to oakland.edu/visit. Every single college and university is going to have a website like that, usually associated with their admissions page, where you can register for their on-campus events. Finally, I encourage your student to apply for scholarships. My best advice for that process is to maybe create a weekly or a monthly goal. How many applications they want to turn out, how much time they want to put toward that process, so that they make sure that they are consistently over time applying for scholarships and doing that from now until the time they graduate from college. That's going to give them sort of an increase in the number of applications, which increases the probability that they'll actually get selected for some of those. Now, finally, you're not alone in this process. There's lots of support that you can get. So the counselors, the high school counselors, they know everything. If they don't know the answer to a specific question you have, they have connections at every single college and university your student is interested in. So they can help you get connected to get the answers that you need. I get lots of questions every week from counselors, so please feel free to utilize them. Financial aid folks like myself, admissions advisors, we're really eager to make this a smooth transition for you. So when you're visiting our campuses, stop by our office, call if you can't make it in person, that's fine too. You might want to hold off. This week is the first week of classes, so it's a little hectic right now. But as you go through the school year, please reach out and ask questions. You know, I'm local, so if you see me, you know, at the Costco or crying out front of an empty Joann's, it's now a Spirit Halloween, that's what happened to mine, feel free to say hi, and it makes me feel famous. I love that. So feel free to ask questions as you see folks. You're also welcome to contact my office, even if your student is not planning to attend OU, although we certainly hope they consider it. You're welcome to call our office and ask questions. My staff loves to make sure that students feel comfortable and confident in this process. So please feel free to call and reach out to us. You also have the Federal and State Department of Education website, social media, YouTube channels. They all have tons of information on there so that you can get some assistance. Please feel free to refer friends or neighbors or folks that you didn't see here tonight to our website. You're welcome to, grab that handout and take an extra one home with you. We certainly hope that you will find some benefit in all of this information ahead of time. I'm going to take some time for questions. If you didn't get a chance to check in to the presentation before we started, please feel free to grab that QR code now. My boss will appreciate it, I'll appreciate it, and I will be happy to take questions. Way in the back with the hat, yep. That's a great question. If you already have an FSA ID, so that would have been created since 2015, for example, then you don't have to create a new FSA ID for yourself, okay? But anybody that is new and doesn't have one should create one for themselves. And just my own personal rule, do not create an FSA ID for anyone else. Don't do it for your child. They are more than capable of creating their own accounts. Don't do it for your partner. They are more than capable. Something always gets messed up if you're creating it for somebody else. And then when you get to the FAFSA, it just creates that much more stress. So do yourself a favor and just let them do their own. Any other questions? Yes. Be a little bit louder, I'm a little old. Yeah, that's a great question. So they asked when I'm applying for private scholarships, how can I rely that that's an actual scholarship and that it's not a scam or anything like that? So using reliable websites is a great idea. Even if within that website you get to a scholarship application that you feel is asking for too personal of information too quickly and it makes you uncomfortable, trust your gut, skip that one. There are bazillions of scholarships out there, so skipping applying for one isn't going to be a big deal. So if it makes you uncomfortable, listen to your gut. Use reliable websites. The state of Michigan, FastWeb is really well known, scholarships.com. There's some others, raise.me that's pretty well known, College Board. Those are all really well known established sources. Anything that you're personally connected with, because you already have that personal connection, is also a good idea. That's it? Only 2 questions this year? The new presentation is good. All right, well, if that's it, then that's it. I'm going to hand it back over. Thanks so much. Congratulations on senior year, and I hope to see you at a FAFSA workshop. Thanks.
All right, so that kind of concludes the end of our presentation. I just want to mention 3 short other things. On the way in, if you came in over here, there's an opportunity to get an Athens Class of 2026 graduation sign. So if you are interested in one of those, make sure you stop by the table that's right out here. Second thing, our counselors are going to be meeting with all of our seniors over the next couple weeks. So they'll be meeting with them individually, talking about their next steps in their journey and kind of figuring out what other support that they might need in order to get them on their way, to help them with college applications. They can answer questions about FAFSA, any of those things. So your student is going to be getting a one-on-one conversation with their counselor in the very, very near future. Last thing is just one of those dates, and we're gonna, when we have a full list of those senior special dates, we will share them with you. I just wanna make sure that this group knows that we have a different prom date this year. So prom is going to be May 1st, 2026, which is a Friday, and we are going to a new venue. I want to make sure that we say that. We did a lot of work last year to kind of review our prom experience, and this gives us the least amount of conflicts with other things. It avoids all of our AP tests, any major sporting events. So we want to make sure that all of our kids have access to that experience should they want it. So save the date, May 1st, at Cherry Creek Golf Course in Shelby Township. So other than that, thank you so much for coming tonight. We'll be around for just a bit. Otherwise, we're looking forward to celebrating the class of 2026 throughout the year.